Welcome back, everyone, to our weekly study of the Haftara. This week we have the great schus of reading the sixth of the seven of the Shevet Nechemta. It's the Haftara for Kitisa, but it's really just the Haftara for the post Tisha B'Av period. It is from Yeshayahu, of course. All the Shevet Nechemta are from Yeshayahu, and Perek Samach. If we've quoted before in the name of the Balei Tosfos that derech hanechamot liyot holchot umishtabchot yoter, that the way the consolation works in the Haftorah is that they get increasingly better or more consoling for us. We should expect, as you get to the sixth of the seven of the Haftorahs, that this be incredibly consoling. And in fact, that's the case, and we will not be disappointed at all. The Haftarah begins a famous pasuk, Kumi ori kiva oreich uchavod Adonai alayil zarach. Arise, shine, for your light has arrived, and the glory of Hashem has shined upon you. Ki hinei achoshech yechaseh eretz, va'arafel le'umim, va'alayich yizrach Adonai uchavodo alayich yera'eh. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and dark clouds will cover the nations, but upon you shall shine Hashem, and His glory will be seen upon you. So, right away you realize there's something very special going on. This isn't a regular nechama. It's not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is promising to fix a particular problem that we have. This is a nevuah about Acharit Hayamim, the end of the days. And the change in the world is dramatic, and you feel it, even if you don't understand it immediately, right? What does it mean that God will shine His light upon us? God doesn't shine. He's not a physical entity. He's not the sun, right? The sun shines. The moon shines in a reflection of the sun, but it gives light. This is a change in the natural world that we know for something much more supernatural. A world where we're so good that we deserved HaKadosh Baruch Hu's direct hashgacha pratis, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to shine on us directly. It's a foundational change in the world. I would say it's a metaphysical change in the world. We won't be subject to nature, right? We'll have broken through being subject to nature, and now we deal directly with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha pratis, Kiviyach, like I was Avram Avinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to focus on me particularly, right? That theme, which is the theme that the Haftarah opens with, is also the theme, more or less, that the Haftarah closes with. Lo yiyelach od hashemesh la'or yomam, ulonoga hayarech lo ya'ir lach, v'ayalach Adonai la'or olam ve'lohayach l'tifartech. Right? There'll be no need for the sun during the day or moonlight at night, because God Himself shall be our eternal night and glory. Lo yavo od shimshech v'yirechech lo ye'asef. Ki Adonai yiyelach la'or olam v'shamu yimei avlech. Right, never again shall the sun set on us, or the moon shall be withdrawn, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu shall be our eternal light, and ended shall be the days of our mourning. The days of our mourning, mourning, right? And how does this happen? Why does this happen? Because va'amech kulam tzadikim lo'olam yirshu aretz neitzer mata'ai ma'aseh yadai litbaer. Right? Because all our people, all of us will be tzadikim, will be righteous, and forever shall we inherit the land. Lo'olam ma'aseh yadai litbaer. La'olam yirshar. That's right. We've talked about this before. The idea that the Navi makes a promise, but how do we know that it's permanent? It says the Shayu la'olam yirshar. It's la'olam, meaning forever. We're going to inherit the land. How does this miraculous idea come into being? Va'amech kulam tzadikim. That's pretty incredible, right? And that's the idea of God shining His light on us. And there are many, many midrashim that I could quote that talk about this idea of light and this idea of God. I want to quote one medrash, which, to be honest with you, I thought was just a song, but it turns out the continuation of the song is our Haftarah. Says the medrash in the Yalkut Shimoni, Shanu Rabotenu, Bisha shemelech hamashiach ba omeid al gag beit hamikdash. Right? The Melech HaMashiach will stand on the roof of the Beit HaMikdash, v'hu mashmi'a lohem liYisrael v'omer, and he says to the Jewish people, Anavim, higi azman gulatchem, you humble ones, the time of your redemption has come. V'im ein atem ma'aminim, if you don't believe me, re'u be'ori shezoreach aleichem. Look at the light that's shining upon you. Shenemar, our apostle, kumi ori kivo orech uchevod Adonai olayich zarach. Va'aleichem bilvad zarach v'lo al ovdei elidim. Right? It's not shining on everybody. It's just shining on you. Shenemar kinei achoshich ha'se'eretz ba'ota shah. At that time, mavhik hakadosh baruch hu orosh hamelech hamashiach v'shel Yisrael. Right? The light of God reflects. The light of the Melech HaMashiach reflects on the Jewish people. V'olchim kulam lo ran shamelech hamashiach. And all people can walk according to the light or by the light of the Melech HaMashiach, v'shel Yisrael. Shenemar, another pasuk in our Haftara, v'olchu goyim lo'orech u'molachim lo'noga zarchech. Right? The medrash is enough to emphasize the point we've been trying to make. The metaphysical change in the world, in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, kiviyachol, is our source of light, will be permanent. And it will be the result of our goodness. It will be the result of va'amech kulam tzadikim. Right? That's a consolation. That's a great Haftarah. That's this week's Haftarah. And of course, this idea of the metaphysical change in the world, it's a self-contained idea, but I want to share two more ideas that add to the ideas we've said so far, and I think make the Haftarah even greater than we would normally think. The idea that our Haftarah is the counterpoint or the antithesis or the polar opposite of Yetziat Mitzrayim, it's an interesting idea, but it's something we should think about, right? Yetziat Mitzrayim was forced on the Egyptians. Obviously, they didn't want to let us go, but they were forced to, right? And the final confrontation at Kriyat Yam Suf was also like that, and that's why those who were there were wiped out. But it's not just Yam Suf, and it's not just Yetziat Mitzrayim. Every single confrontation that we had with the Goyim before Mitzrayim and after Mitzrayim, ended in, thank God for us, complete victory, but also with the Goyim being antagonistic to us. Never once after we won a war did the Goyim kind of turn around and say, the truth is, yeah, but they deserve the land. That's the land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised them. We should let them have it. They are the chosen people. That never happened to us. And in fact, the Psukim in Yoshua more or less point this out. Lo hayta ir asher hishlima el b'nei Yisrael bilti achivi yoshvei givon. There could be some minor exceptions to what I'm saying. Et hakol lakhu b'milchama. Why? Ki me'et Adonai hayta lechazek et libam likrat ha'milchama et Yisrael leman hacharimam devilti hayot lohem tichina ki leman hashmidam ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe. Now, I'm not saying winning wars isn't a great thing. It is, and thank God we're undefeated at war, because as I think it was Golda Meir who said, the first war we lose will be the last war we ever fight, right? So I'm not saying it's a bad thing; it's a great thing. But can it compare to Si'i saviv einayich ori kulam nikbetzu ba'olach b'nayich merachok yavo uvnotayich atzad te'amana Az tiri v'nahart ufachad v'rachav levavech ki yehafech alayich hamon yam chel goyim yavoulach. Right, the Gentiles will come to you. Shifat gimalim techasech bichrei midyan ve'efo kulam mishva yavo zahavu levana yisau utihilot Adonai yivaseru. This isn't a metaphysical change in the world; it's a historical change in the world. The nations we vanquish are going to turn around and say, you were right. Hashem hu Elokim. God is the only God. And we want to serve him. And continues the Navi. Who's going to build your walls? The Gentiles. They're going to work for you. They're going to build your walls. and their kings will serve you. They'll recognize the truth of our claim. They'll recognize our unique status in the world, and they'll want to serve us. Ki bikitzbi hitich uvirtzoni richamtech. And then unbelievable. Upitchu sha'arayich tamid yomam v'alayla lo yisageru. You won't have to live behind gates and walls, right? You'll open your gates. Why? Lahavi elayich chel goyim u'malchehem nehugim. Because the Gentiles want to come and serve you. They want to come to the Beit HaMikdash. They want to come to Yerushalayim. And we're going to leave it wide open. We're not worried that they're going to attack us because they love us. Right? What a picture that Yeshayahu is painting for us. The world will be different, as we said in point number 1, both metaphysically, but the world will also be different physically, historically, practically. Right? We'll go from having to be stronger than the nations to having the nations root for us. It's so foreign to the existence that we have now. You know, the idea that we'd go to the UN and the vote would be, 182 to 0 in favor of Israel, right? These things are so far beyond us and almost beyond our imagination. But says Yeshayahu, no. When the Geula comes at the end of days, when Mashiach comes, these things are going to be the standard case. Goyim are going to recognize we're unique, we're special, we should be treated that way. And we hopefully will be up for that challenge. Okay, so those are the first 2 points, right? Metaphysical change in the world, the existence of light as a metaphor from and as practically flowing from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that we generate that light. Because Amech Kulam Tzadikim. Similarly, the idea that the Gentiles will stop hating us and will welcome us and will support us. Again, amazing, amazing nevuos. Now, one final point, but it requires some background because I've been preaching against this point till now, right? There's no question that the Haftaras, as we've pointed out, based on how many unique Haftaras there are not established to connect to the Parsha. They're established for current events, right? That's why the Zayin and Nechemta, that's why we have Haftaras for Tshuva, that's why we have Torahs for Rosh Hashanah, for Rosh Chodesh and for Erev Rosh Chodesh and for the Daled Parshios, right? Amazing number of Haftaras have nothing to do with the Parsha. So as a core belief, that's the case. But it could be that when Chazal are sitting there looking for Haftaras of Nechamos, it does dawn on them that we could pick something that matches up with the Parsha. That's not their primary motivation, but I think there are enough hints in our Haftarah to make me think it's not a coincidence that's the Haftarah just for Kitisa. Obviously, Kitisa itself is dominated by the Tochacha, and it's harsh and it's mean. And these amazing Nechamos that we're singing in the Haftarah, right? The idea that they come to counteract the Tochacha, makes a lot of sense to me. Okay? Our Parsha is painful, and Haftarah is really, really comforting. But, that could always be the case. That doesn't really prove anything. But there are a few specific points, some of which I want to share with you. Okay? The end of the Tochacha tells us, V'heshivcha Adonai Mitzrayim ba'aniyot, ba'derech asher amarti lecha lo tosif od lirota, v'yismakartem sham lo'oyevecha la'avadim v'lishvachot ve'ein koneh. One day, says the Tochacha, you can be sent back to Mitzrayim, and it's going to be so bad that when they put you on the sale block to sell you, no one's going to want to buy you. In contrast, our Haftarah tells us, as we've seen already, V'amech kulam tzadikim le'olam yishu aretz. It's not going to happen anymore. Le'olam yishu aretz, we're going to forever have our own land. That's a significant point. You don't have to worry about these things anymore. But more than that, okay, obviously a major theme in the Haftarah is the light. And the light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to shine directly on us. We all know Galus and the Tochacha, they're synonyms for night and darkness and bleakness and frustration and depression, right? So that also, identifies the Haftarah with the Parsha. But one thing that really caught my eye, you might agree, you might disagree, The pasuk in the Tochacha says, "Tachat asher lo avarta et Adonai Elohecha b'simcha v'tuv levav merov kol." Right, the word "tachat," in place of, because you didn't worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of joy, so these bad things happened. The same word is used in our Haftarah, and Yeshayahu says, and the sense you get is it's coming to counteract what we see in the Parsha. Tachat heyoteich azuva usnua ve'ein oved, v'samtich ligaon olam misos dor vador. Right? Instead of you being forsaken, I'll establish you as an eternal joy. Tachat asher lo avarta, tachat heyoteich azuva usnua. The word tachat, which doesn't appear that often, seems to recall our Parsha. Those are the major points I want to make, but let's end with the last pasuk in a Haftarah, which is, at least for me, one of my favorite pasukim in Tanakh. Hakaton yela elef, v'hatzair l'goy atzum, ani Adonai bi'ita achishana. So there's the pasuk itself, right? The smallest shall be increased 1,000-fold, and the least shall become a mighty nation. The hard part, I am Hashem. In its time, I will speed it up. I will hurry it up. Well, if something will happen in its time, then that's the time. What does it mean I'm going to speed it up? Right? It seems like a stira. It doesn't just seem like a stira. It is a stira. And the Navi knows it. When he says, Bi'itachi shana, in its time, I'll speed it up. How does that work? So I don't feel obligated. It's a question many, many people ask, and I don't feel obligated to answer that question. But I'll just share a thought with you. If va'amech kulam tzadikim, we're all going to be tzadikim. So therefore, it's bi'ita. If we're all tzadikim, so we deserve the Gula. Mashiach should come because of what we've accomplished. God has to bring the Geula. But it's hard for me to imagine that amech kulam tzadikim, we are 100% God-fearing and people who keep Torah and mitzvahs. It just, maybe it's my cynicism, but it's hard for me to imagine that. It could be that achishena refers to God allowing us or considering us to be kulam tzadikim, right? Meaning, let's say we're 95% tzadikim, we're 96% tzadikim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you know what? Good enough. I'm going to consider them to be kulam tzadikim, and therefore it's bi'ita. But he's achishana, he's speeding it up because he's allowing us, he's considering us kulam tzadikim, when in fact, we're not really all tzadikim. Okay, is that the pshat? Does that work? Somehow all of us have to figure out a way to work out that contradiction between bi'ita, achishana. That's my suggestion. Everybody could have their own. But just to recount, 3 major points. 1, metaphysical change in the world. God himself, kiviyachol, shining his light on us. Right? That's one thing. 2, history changing. And no longer do we vanquish our enemies, but they stay angry at us. Now we vanquish our enemies and they become fans of us and fans of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And 3, the contrast between, it's almost the opposite between our Parsha, Tavo, and the Tochacha, and our Haftarah. Okay, that's what I have for today. Yashkach to everybody. See you, God willing, next week, and Shabbat Shalom.